Any questions?
Boy, everybody's quiet tonight.
Hello, it's Irma. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So, Lawrence, I have a Mac that I'm not real proficient on because it's a Mac Pro, and I was used to Microsoft, a PC. Anyway, and Steve's helped me a whole lot, but like this morning, I was trying to do a Zoom on my Mac, and it said, I went to my Zoom app, and it said, "Oh, you need to log in." And put it with Gmail, which I use Outlook most of the time. Anyway, so I put in all the information they wanted, and then they wanted to sell me a business. They said I needed to do a business membership. Well, I've always gotten it free, which is just the regular one, basic. And anyway, long story short, I disconnected because I couldn't get to work. And I thought, screw this. So I did. And then all of a sudden, I got all these texts saying that I was charged my Apple account $800. I got 12 of them, $800, $700, and all these. And so I started to get that normal freak out, like, oh my God, I've been scammed again. And I deleted them all and I turned off my computer. And then I checked my bank account and it was all just a scam.
Yeah.
So what was that all about? That's all I have to ask.
It's what you were. It was a phishing attack. A phishing attack comes up with a prompt for you to do something, and they usually try to make it sound urgent, like, if you don't take advantage of our business offer in the next 5 minutes, it'll go up 500%, so on and so forth. But what they really are looking for is just a response, because if they get a response from you of any sort, then they send you other kinds of stuff. Because what they do for a lot of scammers, the scam is not to buy services from them. The scam is to get valid email addresses. So if you respond, then they know that that email address works. And if they collect these working email addresses, they sell them to somebody. So that way, it's not even technically illegal under US law to sell your valid email address. So they sell your valid email addresses, and they're not making a lot of money. You can go out and buy 100,000 valid email addresses for $10. I mean, it's not, because there are several billion people out there with email accounts. So you can go out and buy valid email addresses for cheap. And then other scammers use those valid email addresses to send you things like your iCloud account is full and so on and so forth.
Right.
So your instincts that you were being scammed was correct. However, you made a mistake in deleting the messages. Instead of deleting the messages, you should have highlighted them. And then you should have gone up into, if you were in Gmail, go up to Gmail and mark them as spam, because marking them as spam tells Gmail not to send you more of those from that address.
Wow.
It might send you from similar addresses, but it won't send you any more from that address. And Gmail has a way of marking spam, and Apple Mail has a way of marking spam, and Microsoft Outlook has a way of marking spam. They all have a way of doing it. And in fact, the consortium that manages this was originally set up by Apple and now is run by Gmail. And Apple, Microsoft, and Google are the partners in this consortium for flagging spam addresses. If you have an AOL address or if you have a Yahoo address, you really want to get off of those. And
I don't have those.
I'm just saying, if you did, you'd want to get off of those and you want to move to Apple Mail, Microsoft Mail, or Gmail. In terms of security, Apple and Google have the best security. Microsoft is well behind. In terms of protecting privacy, Apple is number one, Microsoft is number two, and Google is number three. So
Yeah,
they
I
each
knew that. Yeah.
they have their strengths and weaknesses. But anytime you get something like that and you suspect it's a scam, don't delete it. Go up and mark it as spam, because that puts it into the junk mail folder or spam folder, whatever that particular mail client calls it. But it also notifies the provider that, hey, this is bad stuff. Now, sometimes you're going to get stuff that you will mark as spam, and you're still going to get some more. There are exemptions for nonprofits. Don't ask me why. And there are exemptions for political parties. And in fact, the Republican Party right now is suing in court to expand the exemption for political parties so that they can have not only political parties, but their PACs be exempt from spam controls. Really bad idea, but that's what they put forward. And if you mark political spam, if you mark political ads for, give us donations, if you mark them as spam, that won't necessarily make any difference. However, I always mark solicitations for political contributions as spam, because if nothing else, it tells the people sending those that I really don't want there.
Right,
I'm
right,
not going to donate just $5 to their campaign to be
right.
dog catcher or whatever.
I have a sister that gets sucked into that all the time, and she gets spammed a lot. Well, so my question is, I tried to retrieve those deleted messages, and I couldn't. I couldn't find them. I didn't know how to find them in my Mac.
Well, if you deleted them, they're in there's a folder called trash, and they're going to be in the trash folder.
So could I do anything with those if I have the?
No. If you put them in the trash folder, just leave them there.
Okay.
But it depends upon what client, because Apple has their own mail client. Outlook has its own mail client, which I absolutely hate. And
Really?
oh, absolutely, positively.
Why? Well, I don't like. I mean, I've been spammed by Microsoft more than. Well, I don't get spammed by. That's why I was suspect when I saw the Apple thing, because I've never been spammed by Apple.
Well, what it can do, if you use a web browser, your web browser tells whoever, if you're using a web browser, it tells people on the other end what kind of operating system you have. So Apple's mail client identifies itself as Apple Mail. If you're using Outlook, it identifies itself as Outlook. And the reason why they do that is the servers use the security protocols for that particular client to provide you with better security and so on and so forth. But also they have different capabilities. Like, for example, in Apple Mail, it'll display a lot of things that Outlook doesn't know how to display. And Gmail is actually based upon web technologies, not mail technologies. But as for why I don't like Outlook, you have to remember that Apple got an internet domain back in like 1978. Microsoft didn't really formally get on the internet until 1993. Outlook was originally designed for networks, and it wasn't designed to talk to the internet. That didn't actually happen until 1995. So there's a bunch of stuff in Outlook that just makes no sense in the modern world, and I find it very frustrating. And I'd much rather deal with mail using Gmail or Apple Mail. But that's my particular preference. As for why AOL and Yahoo are bad ideas, AOL and Yahoo don't exist anymore. They were purchased by, at one point they were owned by Verizon. They've gone through a whole bunch of owners. And they do a really bad job of providing email service, and they're really there basically as a marketing tool for whoever owns them. And I don't really remember who owns AOL now or Yahoo. And what I recommend for people is to get an Apple Mail or a Microsoft Mail or a Gmail account. Go into your AOL mail, and there's AOL and Yahoo both have this. They have a preference there to forward the mail, where it'll automatically forward incoming mail to your new address. So you go in there, you set it up to forward to your new address, and then you just ignore it. And anything sent to your old mailbox will get automatically forwarded to your new. The good news, bad news. It's a way of making sure that your old mail works, and you don't actually have to log into AOL or Yahoo. The bad news is forwarded mail gets a spam score. When you mark something as spam, it gets a spam score. When I send out things to the Strait Mac user group, I always send it as a blind CC because I don't want to spread everyone's email addresses all over the place. So I send it as a blind CC. Well, when you get an incoming message, your mail client says, hey, this was sent as a blind CC. It wasn't actually sent to you. It was actually sent to vice president at straightmac.org, which is my email address. And you're sent as a blind CC. So it ups the spam score. It doesn't necessarily flag it as spam, but once you read a critical level, it'll flag it as spam. So there is a chance that if you automatically forward from Yahoo or AOL to something else, that you'll get an increased spam score. And depending upon the content, like if it really is spam, it'll be much more spam at that point because it was forwarded. But technical details aside, I don't recommend that you use AOL or Yahoo, and even OliPen. OliPen is a nicely managed company. It's local to the peninsula. But the problem is if there's an internet outage, because they're on the peninsula, they don't get any mail. If there's an internet outage on the peninsula, your Apple Mail still collects mail. Your Google Mail still collects mail. In fact, the space station, people on the space station have Apple iCloud accounts. You don't even have to be on this planet. But on the peninsula, if there's a power outage, nothing is going to flow into OliPen. And so that's a disadvantage. And Wave, I hope none of you have anybody who works for Wave. Wave is just not a great place to get email. I
don't do that.
My internet comes from Wave, but I do not use their mail because it's just not. It's not up to what I would consider current standards.
Well, so my question is, okay, I don't have AOL and I don't have Yahoo. So if I'm on Outlook and I want to switch to Gmail, do I have to send that message to transfer my mail there? I mean, I think I get it all there now, but my email address is Outlook.
That's fine. You can have an Apple, your Apple mail client can read Outlook. When you go into Apple Mail, you say add account, and one of the choices it offers is it either says Outlook or Microsoft or something like that. That's a choice that you can add them. And the same thing with Gmail. You can add a Gmail account to your Apple Mail client, and you can have an Outlook account, and you can read it in the same client that's reading your Gmail account. They really don't. They know how to talk to each other.
Okay. Thank you. I don't want to consume all your time, so thank you so much.
When I was president of the, actually I was vice president of the Washington Apple Pie user group. At that time we had 5,000 members, and I would do a Q&A, and one of my rules was I only would answer one email client one email question per meeting, or one printer question per meeting. And that's because the email questions, they just went one right after the other. I'd get like 30.
Yeah.
And with printers, I just hate printers, so I just don't want to talk about it.
So it's not just me. I hate printers too. I'll tell you what, like I got a bill recently from a contractor, and he used a link that I could not copy. I couldn't copy it. And then I'd sent it to myself and thought, well, I can copy it, photocopy it from my email, but it doesn't work. And it just ticks me off to no end. Yeah, it's so frustrating.
There's, I don't know how many of you are fans of popular rock, but Olivia Rodrigo has a song called Vampire, and it's about a boyfriend that she's getting, that's giving her grief. And I tell people that song is really about, that song is really about printers, because it's talking about, it just sucks the life out of you. And that's what printers do. Anyway.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We have other questions.
I'm done. Let me go off of this.
No other questions?
I actually have two questions.
Okay.
One of them is at some session, there was discussion about your treasurer and money.
Yes.
And I'm not paying any money. So am I supposed to be?
We have a membership fee of $24 a year per family. So if it's
24
you, it's $24. If it's you and your spouse and two children,
And-
it's
Okay.
$24 for the entire group.
And then how do I pay that?
On our website, there's a link that says join, which is also renew, but it doesn't say that. And if you click on that join, it'll have the details. It gives you an
So
address.
SMUG has a website
Yes,
and okay, and join.
right.
Okay, got it. And my other question is, since I got my new iPad about a month and a half ago, thank you, Steve. I'm getting porn. It goes directly to my junk, but I still have to see it just to block it. And of course, it's always different names. They're becoming less and less. Like yesterday, I think there were only maybe 4, but I think the first day it happened, there were like 20 of them. They all go to junk, granted, but I'm blocking them. This has never, ever happened before. I don't know what happened. And this is a brand new iPad. It's not refurbished or anything like that. So
No, it's not the iPad. A lot of it has to do with politics, and also a lot of it has to do with what year this is. This is an election year, and during election years, political parties go out and buy mailing lists from everybody on the planet. And because they're buying mailing lists for everybody on the planet, the people who have mailing lists are selling their mailing lists to more people, and they don't necessarily screen them well. So for an example, there was a First Amendment group in Nevada that bought a mailing list with like 10 million names on it. It was actually run by a porn site, but they said they were First Amendment, so it looks like they're a political group, and they purchased this mailing list of perfectly valid email addresses, and they use it to send out porn. Sending out porn is actually more lucrative than sending out political messages. So, it's a good business venture. As to what you can do about it, there's not a heck of a lot. There was a national secure infrastructure group. It was an IT group that did things on a national level with the federal government, and they gave grants and they did research and all kinds of stuff. That was disbanded by the current administration last year, and it hasn't been reinstated. So there are fewer people minding the hen house, and because it's a political year, and because the porn people know that they can just join the flood of stuff flowing into your mailbox, they send out lots of porn. You're not alone in that. I get porn. I get, among other things, I have an account. I have 2 accounts that are in Japanese. Don't ask. Oh, I'm a Japanese historian, but that's the reason. I get porn in those. And the only difference between that porn and the US porn is that the text is in Japanese. But unfortunately, there's really nothing you can do other than flag them. And you can flag like 30 at once and say, block it, declare it to be spam. You don't have to look at each one. You can just go and select them and send them off into junk mail jail.
Well, one huge concern I have is everybody that gets a new iPad, this is going to happen to. What
No,
about children?
It has nothing to do with iPads. It has
Well-
nothing to do with iPads.
It never happened on my old one.
It doesn't make any difference. It has nothing to do with iPads. It has to do with the year that we are in.
Well, right. But nevertheless, children are getting new computers. And I mean, it's just horrifying to me.
With children, you can put controls on them that limit that sort of stuff. You can put controls on your own machine if you want to. The trouble is that the computer controls they limit what you can do as an adult. For example, when you go in and you set up an Apple ID account, They won't issue them to people under a certain age, and I don't know what that is.
Oh.
But you, unless they're set up by a parent, and the parent has to declare what their age is. My granddaughter has an iPad, and I set it up so it's got parental controls, and it knows that she's 8 years old and all that kind of stuff. You can put in those kind of controls. The trouble is, if you're an adult, it'll limit what you can do. Like, for example, when you go visit a website, it tells the website that you're a minor. So if you're searching for racy books on Amazon, it just won't show you the results. So there are limitations on that. You don't necessarily want to put children's controls on your own computer. As a prime example of something that happened several years ago, it was about 15 years ago, after they put children's controls on this one major church's internet domain, the registered nurses who were doing parish ministry could not log into the National Institute of Medicine, because the National Institute of Medicine had things like things about sex and things about menstruation and things about erectile dysfunction and a bunch of other things, which they did not want exposed to children. But because this very large church had said we want everything to be G-rated, they had no access to it, which was an unintended consequence. But those parental controls have a function. But if you're an adult, you really need to tell people that you're at least 21. As a general rule, just say when it asks for your birthday, pick 1999 and your year and day, your day and month, and say 1999, because that's more than 21 years ago, and you'll be an adult and you don't have to give away your real birthday. My birthday on Facebook, according to Facebook, I was born in 1911. So I'm old enough to be an adult, but if anyone tries to steal my identity, that's going to be a tough sell. Facebook's never questioned it. My friends on Facebook make fun of it all the time, but Facebook's never questioned it. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mhm.
It's kind of along the same lines as Sherry. I've been a member of SMUG almost since the very, very beginning, when it started at Squim High School, probably close to 40 years ago. And I stopped paying dues when I became responsible for bringing the treats when we were meeting at St. Luke's. And then we stopped meeting. I can't remember if it was due to COVID or whatever reasons we stopped meeting. And so I never started up again. And I have since moved out of state, and I have not been coming to the meetings, but tonight's intrigued me, so I joined. But I, like Sherry, I don't want to be a freeloader, but I want to make sure it's okay, not living in the area, to stay a member.
It's not a problem at all. The only limitation is that we're going to have an in-person meeting in August, and depending upon where you live, you may not want to come back to Squim just for that meeting. But
yeah, I won't. I'm out of state.
No, it's really the more the merrier. The Washington Apple Pie, for example, when I was president of Washington Apple Pie, we had people call in from one guy from a carrier off the coast of Iran. This was like 30 years ago, so it wasn't the current situation, but one guy from a carrier. We had people in Europe, we had people in Japan. They were all over the place. These SMUG, since I've been in SMUG, which was 2018, I think. It's when I was voted vice president. It's about time for you guys to overthrow me and get somebody new. We've had a guy from Australia. We've had several people from Canada. It really does make any difference, particularly with virtual meetings, because if you hadn't told me you're not in the area, there's no way I would know. It really doesn't make any difference. Another thing I want to mention, you can also contribute other than money. You can offer to do presentations. You can tell me that I'm wrong and what I just said was wrong and what's really true is something else. You know, you can contribute in other ways, and nobody will know that you're in a different state or country. Or probably on the International Space Station we'd know, because they have frequent blackouts as they go from one receiving site to another. I actually had, when I was working for NOAA, I actually had some email from some astronauts on the International Space Station. They had observed something from space, and they looked on the NOAA website and they noticed that I was the technical manager, and they decided I was the person to talk to. So they sent me some email with some observation from the space, which was really cool. And the head of National Ocean Service, which is the part that I worked for, she was a former astronaut, and she just thought that was fantastic. Everyone said how great it was. I hadn't done anything. I just received the email, but they still thought it was cool. You can become famous through no effort on your part at all if you really want to. Any other questions? If not, I have a question for you. A security update came out today for iPhones, iPads, and Macs. And did all of you update your iPhones, iPads, and Macs? And if not, you should, because it's an interesting security update. It's not something that you're likely to ever run into because it requires an awful lot of work, but it is a genuine security update, and it came out today. So tonight you can tell your little devices to update themselves. It's not a particularly cumbersome update. You just go into Systems, Update, and tell it to do its thing. Anything else before I start with my presentation? Okay. I'm going to, I don't know why it did that. Going to share my desktop, and I always forget how to do that. Share. Yes, yes, yes. And I have notes today. We're talking about simple things you can do with your simple chores you can do with your Mac. And one of the things you can do is you can write yourself notes. And I'm going to show you a variety of different ways of doing notes. The one I'm going to start with is reminders. Reminders is cool for a couple reasons. First of all, it's on your Mac, it's on your iPad, it's on your iPhone, and they all sync with one another. So if you're using if you write the note on one device and you sync it through iCloud, it'll appear on the other devices automatically. You don't have to do anything about it. And it automatically saves things. Another way you can write notes is you can use Notes, which is another Apple application for taking notes, obviously, and it also automatically syncs. A third one that I use fairly often that for special purposes is TextEdit. TextEdit has actually been around in some form or another since the original Mac. It was originally called TeachText, but it's essentially the same application. And it's really cool. The disadvantage is that it does not automatically save stuff, and it doesn't sync through iCloud, but it does have some other cool functions. So first one thing I'm going to start off with is Notepad, is reminders. And the nice thing about reminders is it can do a bunch of stuff. Among other things, it can remind you. You can set up a note in reminders that will go off at a particular time to tell you to do something, which is always nice to do. And it will also go off if you're driving when you go near things. One of the things that I have here, for example, I have a grocery list. And on groceries, it says, well, buy note cards and so on and so forth. But here it reminds me that I'm going to Costco, I should get cat food. And this note was made on May 19th, 2021. And it's a good thing I don't have a cat because that was a long time ago. But why this thing works, this little eye over here in reminders, if you click on that, you can set it up to go off at a particular time, but you can also have a particular location. You can look up the location, it'll search it out. And if I'm driving by Costco, it'll buzz at me and tell me that I should get cat food at Costco. So it's a great way for keeping reminders. It's a great way for keeping lists. It's a great way for telling you to do something when you're at a particular location. Alarms can go off at particular times. All of that's quite nice. And if you click on this button, it goes away. Well, it'll go away because now it's done. So it goes down to the bottom. So you don't have to see all of your notes. It'll just put the things that you've completed down at the bottom. So it's a really nice way of keeping track of lists. A lot of us have lots and lots of lists. I try to have as few lists as possible. And I like to have the lists on both my phone and on my computer. And the easiest way to do that is to use things like reminders. And it can also you can have groceries and tell you to do various things. My grocery list says buy note cards. And you can tell this is an old list because Office Depot went out of business around here quite some time ago. So we can make that one go away. But I needed note cards for something. But things that are on my list right now, root beer, cheese, toothpaste, and roast chicken. By the way, I am not actually me. I'm logged in as Peter Lyon, which is my my alias for doing demos. And then there are just reminders for reminders by Ollie's, which should be on the grocery list. Show people the sign-in list, which I haven't done yet. Turn on the recording, which I did. Turn on closed captioning. I did that too. So you can have multiple lists. And once you put it on a list, provided it's set up to sync through iCloud, it will appear on all your other devices. And so how do you sync it through iCloud? If you go into settings, and you go up to your icon at the top that's for you, go into iCloud, and it'll list the services that you are syncing through iCloud. Right now, Peter Lyon has photos, syncing drives, so documents and so on and so forth, syncing passwords, syncing mail, syncing messages, and syncing note items. Plus an ad here to tell you to upgrade because it's only got a 5 gig limit because this is a free account. But at the top, it'll show you how much of that limit you're up to using 3.7 out of 5 gigabytes. If you click on Manage, it'll have this little diagram saying that most of this is photographs. Quite a bit of this is mail. Some of this is Apple Books, and messages is just a small amount. So that's how you get things to sync. And I'm syncing reminders. And I'm syncing notes. And again, those things automatically will save to other devices if you're syncing them. So it's important to keep that in mind. And I can't see the done sign because Zoom is in the way. But anyway, you can have multiple lists and all kinds of things like that. So if you haven't played with reminders, and I was not a big fan of reminders. I didn't pay any attention to it. My late spouse was a huge user of reminders. And she was the one who got me enthused about using it. She used it constantly. She had several hundred notes and reminders. The other one that is quite useful for notes is the notes function. And notes, like reminders, is synced through iCloud, which is nice. And you can have as many notes as you want. My late spouse on her computer had 2,800 notes. And some of them went on for hundreds of pages. So she was a huge user of that. But notes, you can sit there and you can type a note. this is a note. And one of the things to note about notes, the first line is also the topic. So this really should be a topic note. This is an example note. And one of the things you'll notice is that among other things, it has spell correction in there, underlines things that are misspelled, and all kinds of cute things. Notes can have things other than just text. So for example, if I wanted to put in a illustration of something, you can just drag that right in and let go. This is a map. It's an ideogram of maps of various countries based upon their population. And the larger the population, the more space it takes up on the chart. And as you see, Asia is more than half the world, and North America is not that, North and South America are not that big, and Europe is substantial, but not as big as it could be. It's a good way of showing information. And now that you've dragged that into notes, it'll just stay there until you get rid of it. So if you want to add something else, I come and grab another illustration, and I drag it in here, let go. This is something that I saw in an AP headline. It said 1848, the Seneca Falls Convention. The reason why I threw this in here is that it's completely wrong. The Seneca Falls Convention was in the 1890s, not 1848. You don't need to know what it is, but if you're an historian, I looked at that and thought, you screwed up. And you can get more things in here. In this case, it's just a meme. I heard the government is putting chips inside people. I hope I get Doritos. So it doesn't make any difference what you put in there, but if you give it more structure, you have more useful notes.
Can you drag the pictures back out?
Yes, you can drive it back out, and in fact, taking them out helps if you have a small amount of iCloud storage, because obviously if it gets synced into iCloud, this photograph takes up more space than a text note. This text note up here is going to take about 20 bytes to store, whereas that photo is 243,785 bytes. So it's a lot bigger than just pure text. But if you're trying to assemble a bunch of information, you can put in sound files, you can put in photographs, you can put in text notes, and just make sure they all go with that particular topic, and it'll sync it to your other devices. And I want to show you an example of just how powerful the notes is. I'm going to take a recording. This is an audio recording, and just to show you what it looks like, I'm going to bring it up here and hope that you can hear it. Now, anybody know what that sound was, if you could hear it? Nobody can hear it? Pardon?
Could hear a little scratchy noise, but I didn't have my sound turned up high enough, I don't think.
Yeah, well,
I thought it sounded like running water.
it's running water. I accidentally took a voice memo of myself washing dishes. So, but one of the things you'll notice is that if I drag this into notes, it's in notes now, and I can actually play it in notes. It's only 4 seconds, but it's there. So that's the sound of running water, and it didn't do anything special. I'm going to show you another thing that I got. This actually was a phone call that I got. You can take, if you have an iPhone, you can actually save voicemail messages as audio files. And so I take this audio file and I drag it into notes, and it's not doing what I want it to do. Let's get rid of this one. Delete. That's because I dragged the wrong thing. Delete, delete, delete. Let's grab the voicemail. Okay, here's the voicemail. It's a 52-second piece of voicemail. And what it has done is it's the note application itself using Apple's technology has gone and created a transcript of the voice on this voicemail. And I can play the voice mail, and you can possibly hear it. And it's...
Hi, this is Barbara from Tax Assistance Center. I hope all is well with you. Go ahead and give me a call back at 833.
I'm not going to make you listen to all of it. This is a piece of voice spam. They're trying to get me to sign up for Tax Assistant. By the way, if you almost 99.9% of the emails you get or voicemails you get about Tax Assistant are useless. If you filed an extension on your own, it doesn't cost you anything. If you file an extension through a tax assistance service, it costs you money. If they say they can reduce your tax burden, they can't reduce it any more than you can. It's basically a scam. But what I just showed you is that if it's identifiable as a human voice, notes can automatically transcribe it into text. And once it's in text, you can grab it like this, and you can paste it in as text. And as I mentioned, text takes up less room. So for example, this voicemail message on the phone takes up 116,468 bytes, but the text of it takes up 668 bytes. So just a tiny fraction as much space as the voicemail. And I do this fairly often, particularly for things that I think are fraudulent or strange, or I just want to pass on to somebody. Rather than send them the original voicemail, I'll send them a transcript and send it via email and said, you sent me this voicemail message about such and such and so and so. Call me back at such and such. That way they have a context for my response, because I much prefer to talk to a lot of people via email than I would talking to them on the phone, because I'm just not that friendly. Anyway, but this is something you can do with notes. It automatically is transcribing. It's using your Mac, the power of your Mac, to analyze the words and create the voicemail. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second if I can find my control, so I can entertain some questions. Any questions about that? No questions? I just showed you.
I have a question. Can you search for a note?
Yes, you can. It'll search for the words that are in the note. So for example, if I went in there, and right now, if I went up to that box on the side where it lists all the notes, and if I tick them in tax, it'll show me every single note that has the word tax. It can't show you if you have a picture of a potato, but it doesn't say the word potato anywhere, your computer doesn't know what that is. But if it's got text in there, yes, you can search through all the text. My late spouse used to take notes on the SMUG meetings, and she was very careful to make sure that all of the SMUG notes started off right at the top. It said SMUG note, and then it had the date. So when I went through her 2,800 notes, I could just type in SMUG, and all of the SMUG notes would appear together. So yes, it basically is a very easy thing to search, provided it has the text in there. It won't search on photographs or things like that unless you actually have some kind of note in there that says, Picasso or Mona Lisa or Eiffel Tower or whatever it is that the photograph is. Any other questions? I'm going to, I told you I would have short, useful things. Some of the things I'm going to do seem a little bit on the esoteric side, but just indulge me. And go back to sharing my screen. What I mentioned the search box. Here's the search box up here. So I type in tax, press return, and it says I've got that voicemail about it, and it searched for tax in the text here. It doesn't actually see it in the audio file. And also it keeps track of things you've deleted. So I've deleted a bunch of stuff. It doesn't share those, but after they're deleted, they don't actually disappear until I tell them to disappear. And that's notes. And I'm going to go back to reminders because it tells me what I'm doing next on my list. I'm going to go with voice memo. Voice memos is something fairly new. It was introduced originally on the iPhone, but now it's on the iPad and it's on the Mac, and you even have a voice memo app on the Apple Watch. I frequently will, when I'm driving around town and I want to have a memo about something to do once I get back home, I'll tap my watch because I have the icon right in the front face and say chicken cordon bleu or whatever it is that I want a note about. And voice memos are also synced between your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, so they can show up universally. But voice memo on the Mac, this is what it looks like. And you just have a voice memo, and you can, this one says TP and bagels, and it probably doesn't take too much imagination to figure out what it's about. Remember to buy more toilet paper and bagels. And this is one that dates back to 2021, and I still haven't done anything with. Scheduled trip to Hawaii. It turns out that Hawaii is a lot farther away than I thought it was. This is something for Washington, for the SMUG people. Ask people what they want to do next month. And here's one that just tells me to remind me. Please demonstrate to everybody how voice memos works. Okay, so that's showing you things that have been recorded, but how do you actually record something? There's this big red button. You click on that, and then you start talking. And as you're talking, it'll start recording what it is that you're saying. And I need to move this because Zoom is covering up what I need to see. And then you start talking, and as you're talking, it'll start recording what it is that you're saying. I'm not going to show you this right now. You're just going to take my word for it. You can drag these voice memos into notes, and it'll create a transcript of them. For my spouse's eulogy, I talked for like 15 minutes, and somebody wanted to know what it was I said. I took a voice recording of it and dragged it into notes, and it created a transcript. So I didn't have to type anything. I just sent them the text. But that's what you can do with voice memos. It's really, really handy when you just have a quick thing that your hands are busy and you're driving or something and you just want to have a quick memo. It's a great way to do it. And it's available on your phone, and it's available on iPads, and it's available on the Mac, and it's on the Apple Watch as well.
Can you ask Suri to do it for you?
You can ask, that's a good question. I've never tried that. I've asked Siri to send me a message. Go along and say, Siri, send me a message asking to buy chocolate or something like that. And Siri will compose a message and then send it to me. Believe it or not, that's one of the things that I'm going to show tonight.
I just tried it and it works. It brought up what's new in voice memos.
Oh, good. Siri, stop. I said. I'm unable to perform that task. Siri is yelling at me. Accidentally called her attention, and so she did something. So I've talked about notes, text edit. I actually haven't talked about text edit. I'll get into the voice memos, to some extent voicemail. I want to show you something that I don't think many of you will actually do, but it's worth noting that your computer can do this. Your Mac actually runs an operating system called Unix. Unix is one of the oldest operating systems. Its official birthday was the 1st of January 1970. So it's been around for quite a while. You talk to Unix by using the terminal. And the terminal's on your Mac. It's in the utilities folder. It's just a way to talk to Unix. And if you go up there and you say uname, it'll tell you what the name of the Unix is that you use. It's called Darwin because that's the name. Okay, that's what I was trying to get the first time. Darwin is the name of the Unix that Apple has. It's a fully recognized Unix. It passes all the certifications for Unix, which you probably don't care about, but it's important to note. And the current version of the Unix on here is Darwin 25.6.0. It was released on July 31st of this year. And it's an ARM64 release, which means it's running on Apple Silicon. And again, most of you will never care about this, but I want to show you something that you can do. I don't know that you'll be able to hear it, but I hope you can because it's cool. That tax assistant memo that I had, I'm going to open that up. The text, and I'm going to have the Apple built-in voice synthesizer play it. I say, I put a quotation mark, I paste in what I want it to say, and when I press the return key, the voice synthesizer on the Mac is going to play this message. And why didn't it work? Oh, it's because I have two quotes. Forget it. All right.
Hi, this is Barbara from Tax Assistance Center. I hope all is well with you. Go ahead and give me a call back at 833-333-7518.
Okay, I'm not going to play all of it. Did you hear that? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, some things to note.
Yes.
It played it with a Scottish accent. That's because I have Siri set up to play with a Scottish woman's voice, and I have no great explanation for that aside from the fact that my spouse's family is from Scotland. It's creating a voice version of text. It did it on the fly. You can do this at any time you want to. The trick is you go up, you say, and you type in a quote mark to say anything within the quote you can say, and say, here we're going to say, the cat is red and it doesn't like raccoons.
The cat is red and it doesn't like raccoons.
Okay, then that's kind of a silly thing to say, but what the heck. I can even get it to create a voice file. I can go up here and I can go to my previous statement, this one here, and after it I press O, which says output this, and it's a spam message AIFF. AIFF is a type of audio file. So I press this, you won't hear anything, but now if I go onto my computer, I go into my user folder for Peter, and here is my spam message as an audio file. and I can play it using QuickTime. Say open with QuickTime, and
Hi, this is Barbara from Texas.
so using nothing more than my Mac and some text, I created an automated voicemail spam robot. Why am I showing you this? One reason why you want to be careful with security on the Mac, Macs are extremely secure, but they are also a high value target because they have Unix underneath it. Unix is an extremely powerful operating system, and right now when you have an Apple Mail account, you're using Apple Mail servers. When you have an Outlook account, you're using Microsoft servers. If you have a Gmail account, you're using Google servers. Well, guess what? On your Mac is a mail server. It says that Peter has no particular mail, but if you type in man mail, it gives you the instructions for how to run the mail server that's on your Mac. And it just goes on for pages and 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 pages.
I don't
You know
know.
you're not sharing.
Oh, I'm not sharing?
No.
No. Just going to say the same thing. We're looking
I was
at you.
waiting for somebody. Yeah, it's just the screen of everybody.
When did it says I'm,
Right after you did the voice memo thing.
huh?
You're
Well,
sharing yourself, but not your desktop.
It says
Yeah.
I'm sharing the desktop.
Nope.
Well, it lied. Oh, I wonder if this is the reason. No, I have no idea. According to my way that what I told it to do, it was sharing the screen, so I don't know why it's not doing that.
I saw it all.
But what I was trying to get at, though, was that you have a very powerful machine. It's even got a full-blown mail server on it. It's not configured to do anything, and you would have to be a Unix expert to actually get it to do anything. But it's an extremely powerful system, and hackers want to compromise Macs if they can get into them, because among other things, they can use it to send out billions of pieces of mail. Will that happen to you? No, it's extremely difficult, even if you're sitting right in front of the machine, to do this. Trying to have somebody remotely come in and do it's nigh impossible. Nobody's ever done it, but I'm just pointing out that that's one reason why Macs are a target. It's an extremely powerful machine. And if I could understand why it wasn't showing what you were doing, I have something else I want to show you. I'll give it another go. So let's try it. Are you seeing my
There
desktop?
you are.
Okay.
Yep.
One of the things that is you might want to know that's useful is what day of the week is Christmas on this year. In Terminal, you can say cal and then type in the year 2026, and it gives you a calendar for 2026. And it tells you that Christmas is on a Friday. Well, what if you want to know why, for whatever reason, what day of the week Christmas was in 1950? Cal 1950. And you go there and it says in 1950, Christmas was on Monday. I would like to know what day of the week that October the 10th was in the year 1911. 1911 was the Chinese Revolution, and it took place on 10/10 day, so it was October 10th. So I say cal 1911, and it says that October 10th was a Tuesday, and that's nice to know. When was the U.S. Naval Academy founded? It was founded on October 10th, 1848, so I type in cal 1845. 1845, and it tells me that that was a Friday. Now, why am I fascinated with October 10th? It's my birthday, so historical events on October 10th are interesting to me. How far back does it go? Well, let's try cal 1492. We celebrate Columbus Day on October the 10th traditionally, and October the 10th in 1492 was a Wednesday. Now, that's completely incorrect because that was a Gregorian calendar back then rather than that was not the Gregorian calendar, that was the Julian calendar. So October the 10th was actually some other time completely. If you want to know something about this, you can say manual, cal, spell it correctly, and it tells you about all the different things you can do with calendar, and including strange things. And let's see if I can find what I want. Trying to remember the year something happened, because just a second while I look something up. Okay. Cal 1582. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Cal 1752. Yes, calendar for 1752. Now, let's take a look at September. You notice anything interesting about September?
All the days aren't there.
Yeah. The calendar, the Gregorian calendar that we use today was adopted in Britain in 1752. And because it was so terribly out of sync with the Julian calendar that had been used up to that time, they just had to get rid of some dates, and they got rid of them in September. And there were people who were crying about the fact that they would not have a birthday that year, because a birthday had religious significance. People didn't get presents back then, but when you went to church on your birthday, it was a special day, and they couldn't have a birthday, so they had no birthdays at all, and they were very sad, and it caused a fair amount of social unrest in Britain because people didn't have birthdays. But the calendar on your Mac that you don't actually see is actually quite powerful, and in some cases kind of amusing. If you ask for the cal for the year 1, you can get it, but it's kind of pointless because, again, the calendar in the year 1 was actually a Julian calendar, and it's putting everything into Gregorian dates, so it doesn't actually match anything. But, it's there if you want to play with it.
I think I got lost somewhere. Where was this that you got to this to get this information?
Oh, this is the terminal. The terminal is a program that allows you to talk to Unix, and the Unix program on your Mac has a built-in calendar called Cal. And if you just type in Cal, it gives you whatever the current month calendar is and even highlights the date. But if you type in Cal and then you give it a date, like 1861, when the Civil War started, it comes up and you can get calendars for dates almost anywhere in the past or even the future. Cal 2099.
I got that, but how did you get to terminal?
Terminal is on your Mac. If you go to your applications folder, if you go down to the directory called utilities, which is down here, and you open that up, terminal is in your utilities folder. These things in utilities, a utility is something that you use to do something on the computer but doesn't produce anything for you. If you use a word processor, you can produce a document. If you use iMovie, you can make a movie. But utilities are doing things with the computer to do various things. They don't necessarily produce a product. So all of those things are stuck into the utilities folder. Terminal is one of them. I'm not suggesting that a lot of you want to actually play with utilities, but it's there. And a lot of the things you can do with it are quite clever. There are some things that you can do with terminal that are incredibly dangerous too. But fortunately, you have to learn a lot before you can do the dangerous things. So I wanted to show that to you. One of the things, yes?
Will Cal let you type in 2 dates and it'll tell me how many days it is between them?
No, but there are websites to do that. You can you can go in there and say days till or days from or whatever, and there are calendars that'll do that for you. Calendar itself doesn't do calendar math, which is it's an idea. I'm sure that somebody's written a utility for that, but it's not built in. Another way that I often take care of quick notes and such is to use messages. I'll send messages to myself. And you might think that's kind of silly, but why would you do that? Well, this was a coastal flood warning that came out some time ago, and it cracked me up because it was a mistake. This was actually, I had my Mac still thought it was in Maryland, and it was giving me a Maryland flood warning. And so I had to go back and tell my Mac, no, you're not in Maryland anymore. This is one of those messages that I see all the time. Here's the PayPal security code number. Don't share your code. How dangerous is it to share your security code that you get sent?
Goes away right away, doesn't it?
Yeah, they expire. You can share it all you want. I go into places all the time, and the waitress or the clerk or something, they'll ask, anything else you'd like? And I said, oh yes, I'd like a winning lotto ticket. And they always say, haha, I can't do that. But actually, there's no harm at all in someone giving you a winning lotto ticket, because they've probably already cashed it in. So is it technically a winning lotto ticket? Yes. Is it worth anything to you? No. And these security codes are much the same thing. They're time sensitive. You type that in, and 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, it goes away. So I thought that was funny. This was a photograph of a snake in a neighbor's driveway. This is a cartoon that caught my attention. It was talking about, I used to work for NOAA, and our budget's been slashed, and this is how we are going to be doing forecasting the future, just throwing darts at a board. And I showed you that country. And here's a joke about spiders. I used to design websites. So spiders are the only web developers in the world that enjoy finding bugs. Anyway, when I get these, I'll send them to myself as messages, because usually I'm doing something else. It's easy to do. It doesn't cost anything. And, why not do it that way? One downside, though, is that these take up a lot of room. And you can send fairly large things through doing it this way. Believe it or not, Britain has a National Picky Bits Day. And I don't know why. My daughter lives in Britain. She explained it to me, and it still makes no sense to me. My daughter also sent me this box, which tells you a lot about my daughter. But anyway, I find these things, I send them to myself. Is there a downside? Yes, these things take up space. So because these are photographs and these are sound files and all kinds of other things. So when you have these things, once you've done whatever you're going to do with them, you can go and delete them. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. If I go up to Peter, up to the name, and I click on this, among other things, it'll tell me documents that I've got in, well, it doesn't tell me any documents, but it tells me photographs and so on and so forth, info, and it's not showing me what I want. If you have a lot of photographs, I guess it just hasn't synced them yet. There'll be something up here for photographs, and you can select them all at once, and then you can delete them. If you if it's not doing that and it's not cooperating, you can go through and you can just click on this and say delete, and it's going to get rid of that snake, and it's going to get rid of that cartoon, and it's going to get rid of that chart. And you notice it says it's going to delete it from all devices. Why do you want to do that? Because if you don't, when you go into your iCloud settings and you look at what the space that you're using up in iCloud, I have seen people, here it says 5.9 megabytes of messages are used. I've seen people who will have 44 gigabytes worth of stuff in messages because they don't set the messages to expire and they don't delete them. Why is this a problem? They run out of space in their phone. They say, hey, I just bought this phone a year ago and it says it's out of space. It can't be out of space because, you know, I get rid of all this stuff. No, they don't get rid of things out of messages. Messages, you have two ways of getting rid of things. One is you go through and delete things that you don't want. And the other thing you can do is you go up to messages, settings, and you can say, right now it keeps messages forever, but you can say, keep it for 30 days or keep it for a year. And then anything over that length of time, it'll just get rid of them. So that's a useful thing to do. Some other things to note about messages, you can specify what can send you messages. So click on this and you can get messages from Peter Lyon at iCloud, Peter Lyon at Gmail. If Peter Lyon had a phone and I have not willing to buy my fictitious person a phone, you could put in the phone number and then Peter Lyon could get messages at that phone number. And things that you can share from, you can share news stories to messages, books, all kinds of stuff that you can pick on what it is that you want to share things with messages. You can filter out spam messages. You can specify the text size that you want for the messages, all kinds of things that you probably never played with, but it's worth investigating that. It's a good way to send yourself notes. Here we have it. This is a piece of spam that was sent to me today. And this was, it's not exactly porn, but it would have linked to a porn site if I would have clicked the link. This jade, by the way, this is all computer generated.
Yeah, look at that arm.
Well, the arm is supposed to be looking, the distortion, because it looks like they're taking a selfie, but it's still computer generated. It's not a real person. You can also store some fairly significant things in messages. This is an owner's manual for a Toyota BZ, which is an electric Toyota. And I had some questions about it. I found their manual and grabbed it. So there are lots of things you can do, but once you're done with doing whatever you want to do, go around and delete them. On an iPhone or an iPad, you can delete multiple things at once. On the Mac, it doesn't have that option, and I don't know why. It irritates me. But it frees up space. Another thing that you have that you can use for taking notes and doing simple things is text edit, which I mentioned has been here forever. But I want to show you a feature of text edit you might not have thought about. I'm going to go to a website and let's go to the Strait Mac site. If I go and I grab this and I put it into Pages, where is Pages? There you are. Continue. Yes, we're going to have a blank page here. If I paste it in, it pastes it in with the original formatting, and it has the photograph and so on and so forth. I didn't want all that. I just wanted the text. So what's a quick way to strip that out? Quick way to strip that out is to paste it into text edit. because TextEdit, well, that's interesting. TextEdit didn't used to have the ability to have images. So much for my demo failed.
Try text edit as just TXT instead of RTFD.
Yeah, when I save it as as text, it'll throw that away. And we're going, oh, TXT, will it? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I have
There's a
to.
drop down there right where you were that lets you choose other things rather than rich text. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wants to do it
Oh, I see.
because of the
That didn't
binary.
help.
Yeah. And I can export it as a PDF. Well, so much for that. I have a commercial application that I use for this sort of stuff called BB Edit, but it used to be able that you could just strip all that stuff out using TextEdit. Delete and go away. But I'll show you the commercial application. BB Edit is a programmer's editor and does all kinds of strange things. But if I grab this and I paste it into this, it just keeps the text. It gets rid of all the formatting. And I find this very, very useful, particularly when somebody else has, they've sent me something, we're supposed to be jointly writing a script for a play or taking notes or something like that, and they have formatting all over the place, and it just annoys me, so I dump it into BB Edit, throws out all the formatting, and keeps just the text. I edit the text and then I paste it into something like Word and put the formatting that I want. This saves a huge amount of time. Trying to correct formatting that somebody else did in Word or in Pages just takes forever because people do strange kind of things. This one woman sent me some minutes that she had taken of a meeting, 4 pages of minutes. She changed the margin over 30 times. And that was really annoying. So I just dumped it in here, stripped all that stuff out, and then I could reformat it the way that I wanted. And TextEdit used to be able to let me do that quickly, which is, I should have tested that. I just assumed it worked the way that it did before. So much for that. Oh, another thing I wanted to show people that is something that's simple to do, but somebody has to show you how to do it. Come on, open up. Let's go to the Strait Mac site again. If you look at the, oh, actually, it's not there. It's in the email. In my email invitation for the meeting, I had a example of terrible URL. This URL, if I click on it, it's going to bring it up. I typed into Amazon random piece of junk, and it came up at this page. Now, if we look at my email that I sent you, the URL has a whole bunch of stuff in there. And if you look down here at the bottom, you'll see even that random piece of junk is in the URL that it sent back. So what is all the rest of this stuff? The rest of this stuff is metadata that Amazon keeps because it tells them who is requesting something. It basically gives your address and your name if they know what your name is, what you were looking for, what time you asked for it. It keeps all of that stuff because it uses it for marketing. Well, if you want to send somebody this, but you don't want to tell them that you were looking for random piece of junk, I will show you how to fix that. And the way you fix that is you come up to your URL in Amazon. So this is the search in Amazon. Up here is the Amazon URL. You go from left to right and you look for a question mark. And right here is a question mark. everything after that question mark is metadata. So if we get rid of all of that stuff, I just deleted that. I come in here, make a new tab, I paste that in, and it goes to the same thing again, but no longer does it tell you that it's a random piece of junk was what I was searching for. It doesn't have any information, any metadata on me. And the trick again is go through that URL that you originally had and look for that question mark, because everything after the question mark is unnecessary. Unnecessary for you. It's necessary for Amazon to spam you, but it's not necessary for you. So I'm going to stop sharing machine because I want to actually ask if you understood what I just did. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would recommend anytime you send somebody else a URL, whether it's from the Washington Post or New York Times or Amazon or whatever, you look through the URL you're going to send and look for that question mark and delete the question mark and everything behind it to the end of the URL, and then send them that bare URL. Why? Because the person you're sending it to, like you're sending it to your lawyer because your lawyer backed into your car and you're suing your lawyer, you don't really want to tell your lawyer anything that anything unnecessary. So you don't tell them that you looked up shysters law, and you don't want to do things like that. So get rid of everything past that, the question mark and everything after that, because it protects your identity. Well, it doesn't protect your identity. It protects things about you. For example, you get some, we were talking earlier about political spam that people send you. If you respond, if they send you an email and you respond by clicking the link, when you respond back to them, they have a database that says, oh, you are responding to this mailing that we sent out at this time from this list that we bought from this vendor, and you are giving us $5. And they put that into a database. And then 2 weeks later, they'll send you a new message saying, you were so generous in giving us $5 2 weeks ago, but we're really desperate. Could you give us 15 or 50 or whatever? They keep that information and they use that to market it to you. So if you get rid of that information, they won't have it. If I'm going to donate money to any nonprofit, be it the Red Cross or anybody, I don't respond to email requests. I go to their website and I do it directly. Why? Because it tells them nothing about how I found out about them. My spouse was, she was an officer in the Navy. She was an officer of Public Health Service. She was an officer in American Nurses Association. She was an officer in HIMSS, which is Health Informatics. I don't remember what it stands for. She was an officer in many things. I showed her how to do that, and the amount of spam she had just plummeted. Because if she responds to the corporate email sent out by these organizations, then they say, you're responding to something that we sent out on X or Y or Z. And so they try and send more. As an example, I'm a fan of the women's basketball team for the University of Maryland. My daughter went to the University of Maryland. I'm really fond of their basketball team. I bought a shirt from their online store, but I got rid of all of that stuff after the question mark, and I just bought the shirt. And so I got this polo shirt from them. Kathleen responded to the email. Within the next 45 days, she had 90 email messages from the store. So that's why you want to track down that question mark and get rid of it. It takes a little practice finding it and then getting rid of it, but it's well worth the effort. And I have lost track of something. Oh, one more thing I'm going to show you. And this is supposed to be useful, simple things. This is a simple thing. How useful it is, I don't know, but it's really cool. And that is, where is my, there you are. We're going to bring up the weather here. Here's the SQUIM weather. And if you look at this SQUIM weather, it tells you all kinds of things, including the air quality index, which is really cool because we've had terrible air quality, but right now it's good. One of the things you have, though, is the moon, the phases of the moon. And it tells you the illumination is 41% because it's a partial moon. Moon set tonight is at 22:24. The next full moon is in 9 days. If you click on this, you'll come down to this thing. It says distance to the moon. The distance to the moon right now is 247,468 miles, which is cool, the kind of thing to know. Well, what's the distance to the moon on Friday? It's 251,221 miles. Is this useful? I don't have any idea, unless possibly if you're an astrologer, but I think that is just super cool. And you probably didn't know you could do that. You'll probably wonder why I think it's cool, but you can do that now. Find out how far away the moon is. I used to do strange things. I used to work for National Ocean Service. National Ocean Service is a mapping service, among other things. They make nautical charts for the United States. They used to have this, every year they used to have this geographic Olympics where they would take contestants and they'd ask them questions and you'd come up with answers, and the person who gave the right answers won. After winning 5 years in a row, they banned me from further competition because I didn't work for the division of NOAA that made the maps. I worked for headquarters and I made websites, but I'm an historian, and historians are really fond of maps. And I knew all kinds of interesting geographic trivia. For example, how much further west is San Diego, California from Reno, Nevada?
It's
100 miles?
east.
San Diego is east of Reno, Nevada. That's not obvious to a lot of people, but if you look at a map, Reno is quite a bit farther, well, not that much farther, but further east than San Diego, California. So people think of, San Diego's on the coast, so it's got to be farther west. Nope, Reno is farther west than San Diego. And I had somebody who strenuously objected to this, and I bet him a bagel, and he ended up getting me a bagel. I don't bet, but, I wanted a bagel.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah.
I do have a question totally off the subject that we're discussing.
Yes.
I have a new MacBook and I would like to download Chrome. I cannot get just Chrome. Every time I try to download it, it wants to give me a whole suite of things.
If you go into Google and just type download Chrome, it takes you to a page on Google's site and all you do is you download Chrome. That's nothing else.
I thought I did that and it gave me a group, but I'll try it again. Thank you.
When you hit Chrome and you have a Google account, you'll have this little menu up in the upper right corner. It's a series of 9 squares, and those are different applications, but they're all just part of Google. When you use Gmail, when you use Google, when you use Google Maps, all of those are part of Google. Google itself is the world's largest application. So the search engine and all of that, it's all one application. It's all one piece of software. It's the largest and most complex thing man has ever made. It runs on millions of servers. That's what powers it. So it's quite complex. But if you want just Chrome, that's all you get. The other applications are just online parts of Google's website.
Thank you.
Any other simple things that people want to do that they'd like to know how to do? Did any of you want to do any of the things that I showed you?
Right. I like that
I love
Amazon one.
reminders. My favorite thing on
Mhm.
reminders is I don't use it anymore because I'm retired, but when I was working and I needed to stop and get milk at the store, I would tell it when I leave work, remind me, when I leave this location, remind me to get milk.
I have it so that when I come near QFC, it buzzes my phone and reminds me, oh yes, I should go look and see my list. My dear spouse used to complain that I was a terrible shopper because she did what she called grazing, where she'd go into the store and she'd see things and she'd grab them because she needed them. She'd give me a list of 5 things and I'd come back with 5 things, and she just, that infuriated her. You wasted a trip. Well, what do I know? I would just come back with what you told me to get, and I fail at shopping apparently.
I think you're typical to most of us guys. 'Cause I do the same thing. When I want to go shopping, I don't want to browse through,
Mm-mm.
clothes and stuff. I want to get that pair of shoes that I came here for.
I've been ridiculed by the people at Costco because I'll go into Costco and I won't get a cart, and they just think that's hilarious. And more than once I've regretted that and had to go get a cart. But I usually go into Costco and I want to get one thing and I can carry it out. But they think it's hilarious, people who go into Costco and don't get a cart. This one woman, she said, "You came for the hot dog, didn't you?" Well, no, but that was a good guess. Any questions?
I have something
It
I'd
was
like to
very
bring up.
interesting. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up about the meeting we're going to have on the 29th.
Yes.
Looking for a couple of volunteers to help bring people in, show them where it's out, show them where the restrooms are, and that sort of thing.
Yes. That meeting on the 29th is at Trinity United Methodist Church, which is on, I don't remember what road is
Blake.
Blake. It's on Blake. It's going to be in the fellowship hall, and we need some volunteers basically so that when they come through the door, they say, fellowship hall's that way, and the restrooms are down there. And also sign in, because I don't have an electronic sign in. Speaking of which, I forgot to give you the URL for the sign-in sheet, and I will paste it into the chat room.
After the August one, do you plan on having Zoom again?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of the meetings are going to be via Zoom. If you have the chat window open, the URL for the sign-in sheet is there. And I use that just, among other things, just to keep track of who did what. We used to have in-person meetings all the time. That disappeared during COVID. We couldn't have them, so we had virtual meetings. One advantage of virtual machines is that you're sitting in front of a computer. So when I'm telling you to look under the Apple menu or something, you can go up and look under the Apple menu. It's convenient in that regard. But there are some things I can't do on Zoom, particularly things that require a reboot or that change the resolution of screens, or just, there are a lot of things that Zoom doesn't like. So if I switch users, for example, which is something I frequently do, Zoom just dies because it was logged in under one Zoom user, and if you log out, then Zoom goes away. So that's the kind of thing that I'm going to be doing at the meeting at the end of the month, or just things that I can't do over Zoom. And among other some things, just some basic diagnostic stuff, like your machine's not working the way you want. What can you do without consulting an expert to influence your computer and get it back on the straight and narrow. It's not necessarily difficult, but it's impossible over Zoom, because if I reboot Zoom, you all go away, and that kind of ends the meeting right there. We've had virtual meetings that have ended because of power failures, because of internet failures, and because I did something that accidentally rebooted the machine. So I'm trying to avoid that.
Thank you.
For September, there is a possibility that I will be showing something with OS 27. And I say a possibility because I don't know what Apple's release schedule is. I have developer status with Apple, and one of the things that I have to do is it's a confidentiality agreement limiting what I can talk about. And I don't sign those confidentiality agreements, but I don't want to be in violation of them, so I just put it off until it's actually released. But if it's close to the release date in September, we might be showing OS 27. OS 27 is the general name, and it's going to be on the iPad, the iPhone, and the Mac. And they went with that terminology because if you've noticed over the years, they've become much closer together in terms of how they function and how they look. There are still things you can do on a Mac that you can't do on an iPad or an iPhone, and there are things you can do on an iPhone and an iPad that you can't do on a Mac. One of them that I was thinking about talking about tonight, but I couldn't figure out a way to do it, was how to make a memoji. A memoji is basically a talking head that's your voice and your inflections, but from the point of view, it looks like you're talking to a zebra or something. And it's a cool thing to do, but I couldn't figure out how to do that virtually. But I might do that on the 29th. Any questions?
On that day, on the 29th, if anybody, if you want to help out with showing people around, just show up a few minutes early and we'll show you where things are so you can.
Yeah, it's not a huge lift. You just basically, fellowship hall's down there, restrooms are on the left, and it's not a huge burden. Okay, I will see some or all of you on the 29th, and the rest of you maybe in September. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.